one more time.
Jump into one, bro.
Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is your truly TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And on this edition of the State of the Saints podcast, we're going to be talking about Michael Thomas versus DeAndre Hopkins and who is the better wide receiver. And we're also going to be talking about Jadeveon Clowney and a possibility he can land with the New Orleans Saints. But first, we're going to start with the Michael Thomas versus DeAndre Hopkins best wide receiver debate. Now, this comes from an interview that DeAndre Hopkins did with ESPN's Jalen Rose and Jacoby. And he was talking about being the best wide receiver in the NFL. They asked him, do he feel he is the best wide receiver in the NFL? And he responded, he believed he is. He said he doesn't disrespect Michael Thomas. He has a lot of respect for Michael Thomas. But if he had Drew Brees as his quarterback, he'll be putting up the same type of numbers. And he also talked about Julio Jones. He felt if he had Matt Ryan like Julio Jones has, he'll put up numbers that Julio has put up. So the great debate has been, who is the better wide receiver? Is it Michael Thomas? Is it DeAndre Hopkins? Is it Julio Jones? I'm not going to talk about Julio Jones on this edition. No disrespect to Julio. He is an outstanding wide receiver. But I just want to focus in on DeAndre Hopkins versus Michael Thomas because these two seem to be the guys that everybody has been zeroing in on. And so the question is, who is the best wide receiver? And I have to say that this is not a very easy question to answer. And if you're being honest with yourself, you'll be saying the same exact thing. Okay, DeAndre Hopkins is a really good wide receiver. He came into the league in 2013, he was a first-round pick. He was, I think, pick number 27 to the Houston Texans. And ever since he's been in the league, the guy has been putting up really good numbers. Michael Thomas came into the league in 2016. And ever since he's come into the league, he's put up outstanding numbers. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give my honest opinion about this. Okay, I'm going to give my honest opinion. And I'm not saying that I'm more right than anybody else. But in my opinion, if I had to choose who was the best wide receiver in the NFL out of these two, I'll go with DeAndre Hopkins. The reason why I would go with DeAndre Hopkins is very simple. DeAndre Hopkins has been playing with absolute trash his entire career, for the exception of Deshaun Watson for the last couple years, okay? I mean, I got a list of quarterbacks that has thrown DeAndre Hopkins the football. I got it right here, and I'm going to read it out to you. And I must say, the fact that this guy is even in a conversation, I mean, is a miracle in itself. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Case Keenum, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, Brandon Wheaton, Brock Osweiler, Tom Savage, and finally Deshaun Watson. Those are the guys that has thrown DeAndre Hopkins a pass. I think in 2014, DeAndre Hopkins had 111 receptions, and he had 4 quarterbacks that threw him the ball that season. So if I had to choose out of the 2 wide receivers, I would have to say that DeAndre Hopkins is the better wide receiver. Now, the best wide receiver in the NFL right now is Michael Thomas. No matter if you want to debate about how he runs routes, if you want to talk about him running short routes, he don't run long routes, whatever. Right now, the best wide receiver in the NFL is Michael Thomas, okay? But in my opinion, out of who is better, I have to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Michael Thomas has been blessed, okay? Michael Thomas has been blessed to come into an offensive system like the New Orleans Saints. and also be able to catch passes from Drew Brees. I have to agree with DeAndre Hopkins on that. Now, you can make an argument to say that DeAndre Hopkins had higher expectations than Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas came in, I think, in the second round of the NFL draft. Nobody really expected him to be as good as he is. Nobody expected Michael Thomas to be in the conversation to be one of the best wide receivers. People looked at him as possibly being, a guy that just kind of fulfilled the role, caught a couple passes, extended some drives or whatever like that, third down. Nobody looked at Michael Thomas as being one of the absolute elites of elite at wide receiver. So I have to give him a little bit of a notch for that because nobody saw him coming. If you watched DeAndre Hopkins at Clemson, you knew this dude was going to be a beast. I watched DeAndre Hopkins while he was at Clemson. I watched him catch passes, and just absolutely take college football by storm. So him being in this conversation is not a surprise to me. But both guys are extremely outstanding. Both guys got really good hands. Both of these guys I would put on my team any day, and I feel like the production would not drop. Michael Thomas, I feel like doesn't get a fair shake. I think people just look at the fact that he was blessed to be in a system with Drew Brees. I'm one of those people. But also look at the fact that Michael Thomas also has caught passes from Taysom Hill. And Drew Brees went down last season, and his production did not drop. As a matter of fact, his production went up, which tells me that Michael Thomas rises to the occasion anytime the team needs him. Michael Thomas is a clutch wide receiver, and he's a guy that wants to be great. He wants to be a great wide receiver, and you can see it every single year. Every year he has gotten to the league, he has gotten better. He has gotten stronger. He has gotten more physical, and he has become one of the best wide receivers in all of football, man. So really, this is a very tough debate to me, but DeAndre Hopkins, I will have to give him the knock, but Michael Thomas is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, he is the reigning offensive player of the year. Nobody has had more receptions in their career, well, not their career, but in a season than Michael Thomas. And I just feel like the fact that he just signed a big contract, a 5-year, $100 million contract, and his numbers did not drop, that tells you everything that you need to know about Michael Thomas, man. I got so much respect for Michael Thomas, and I have so much respect for DeAndre Hopkins. So I would love to hear from y'all. You can comment, at the end of this video or while this video is going on, who you feel is the better wide receiver. But once again, I give the knock to DeAndre Hopkins. Now we're going to move on to Jadeveon Clowney. Now, there is an article that is surfacing right now. It's going around, making its rounds, saying that Jadeveon Clowney, there's a possibility that he can join the Saints on a 1-year deal. Now, Jadeveon Clowney did have an opportunity to, I think, play for the Cleveland Browns, to sign a contract with them, but he ended up turning it down. Now, Jadeveon Clowney is very, very, I have to say, man, he is very, very strategic about where he wants to play. I think he had an opportunity to go to the Miami Dolphins. He said he didn't want to go to Miami. And then, of course, Cleveland was going to back up the Brinks truck to his house, and he didn't want the money. So it doesn't seem like it's really about money to Jadeveon Clowney. It's about what is the best fit. I guess he wants to be with a playoff contender. The reason why he doesn't want to go to the Cleveland Browns, I completely understand. I mean, that is a train wreck. Even though they got about $37 million in cap space, I wouldn't want to go to Cleveland either until they clean up the act. The ownership for the Cleveland Browns, I just feel like they're not patient enough, and I just feel like they're just trying to throw money at players, and it's just not a good fit. But Jadeveon Clowney to the New Orleans Saints, a lot of people are asking me what I think about this. Would it be a good fit for Jadeveon Clowney to be with the New Orleans Saints? And, to be honest with you, I kind of chuckle at this because I feel like people in the Who Dat Nation that are talking about Jadeveon Clowney, a lot of them, in my opinion, are being hypocrites. And the reason I'm telling you that they're being hypocrites is very simple. The same people that are telling me that the Saints need to go out here and get Jadeveon Clowney, are the same people that are bashing Marcus Davenport. The same people that are bashing Marcus Davenport, and a lot of people are comparing Jadeveon Clowney, or Marcus Davenport rather, to Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm wondering to myself, like, okay, on one hand, you have an issue with Marcus Davenport, his production on the field, his he hasn't really did what a lot of people thought he was gonna do coming in 2018. He's always hurt. And then you run around and say you want Jadeveon Clowney, who came in about 2014, first pick overall, and has done absolutely nothing, hasn't really flashed, and honestly has been hurt. So I'm wondering to myself, why would you want Jadeveon Clowney and you're giving Marcus Davenport such a hard time? But I digress. The question is, do I feel like it's a possibility? I do feel like it's a possibility. Do I feel like the New Orleans Saints will try to go after Jadeveon Clowney on a one-year deal? Absolutely. I look at the fact that the Saints are trying to put all hands on deck in order for them to make a Super Bowl run. We see Drew Brees coming back. We don't know if this is his last season or not. In my opinion, I feel like it is. I feel like Jadeveon Clowney would be a good guy, in a starting rotation, in order for him to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, he hasn't played like just god awful over the past few years. Yes, he's been injured. Yes, he's been in and out of the lineup. But 2017, I think he had 9.5 sacks. In 2018, he had 9 sacks. Last year, he had 3 sacks, but ended up getting traded at the beginning of the season from Houston to Seattle. But he did do some really good things in Seattle. He was a disruptor. He was really blowing plays up. He was really looking like he was flashing, and that's one of the reasons why he feel like he demands or he needs a whole bunch of money, which in my opinion, I feel like he's out of his damn mind. 1 year of production or 1 year of living up to your potential doesn't, completely, defeat the fact that you have been injured throughout your entire career. But I do feel like Jadeveon Clowney coming to the New Orleans Saints, it can help out Cam Jordan a lot. I feel like this guy is super athletic. And if you combine him with Marcus Davenport, I think you have a recipe for a really good defense, man. And like I said, it's just a 1 year deal, man. Who knows what the Saints can give him? Probably about 14 or $15 million for 1 year. I can see that happening. I can see the New Orleans Saints, moving some contracts around in order to make money for him for a year. I mean, who knows what he can do in that year? Who knows if he can go out here and get double-digit sacks for the first time in his career, or the fact that he might steal money from the New Orleans Saints and miss about 6 or 7 games. We do not know. Honestly, man, I've never really been a fan of Jadeveon Clowney like that. I just feel like he was, kind of some wasted potential. I feel like him coming out of South Carolina, he kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. He took a lot of plays off. He saved his body. I just feel like, him knowing that he was going to be the first pick overall, I would have respected you more to say I was going to sit out for a year and, not play at all and get myself ready for the draft than to play the way that he did. Because I feel like if a guy can turn it on and off like that, just to, look out for their pockets, who's to say that they wouldn't do it on a professional level? And in my opinion, man, he really leaves a lot on the field to be desired, in my opinion. So Jadeveon Clowney to the Saints, it wouldn't be a bad move. Wouldn't be a move that I would want. I feel like the New Orleans Saints are okay. As long as Sheldon Rankins and Marcus Davenport stay healthy, I think that they have some really good pass rushers. And I feel like they can actually make a run if guys stay healthy. But Jadeveon Clowney wouldn't hurt. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Michael Thomas versus DeAndre Hopkins? And what do you think about Jadeveon Clowney joining the New Orleans Saints? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, and also check out the audio version of the State of the Saints podcast on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Till next time, all I gotta say is, who dat?